Well, it's turned out to be another tough morning for the Indian bowlers here. They've conceded more than 100 odd runs, and even the first session hasn't really been completed. As a result of that, England have managed to score a mammoth 669 in their first batting innings. They batted about 158 odd overs, and it was basically of the hundreds that was scored by the former captain Joe Root, who basically surpassed Ricky Ponting to become the second highest run scorer in the history of Test cricket. And they were also guided by their captain Ben Stokes, who showed exemplary form with the bat, breaking the rut by scoring a three-figure mark here, by scoring 100 and making sure that England got past their desired 650-run mark. So let me just tell you what really happened or what transpired in the first session here. Well, India began with the likes of Bumrah and Washington Sundar, but they pretty much looked off color. They did not really strike as and when it was needed. Although Bumrah got the wicket of someone like a Liam Dawson, and it was because of the invariable bounce that he got off that one patch on the pitch. It stayed a little low, and as a result of that, Dawson had to depart for 26. After that, Chris Woakes also departed, but then Ben Stokes got great support from Brydon Cars, who has shown exemplary form with the bat in this series. He scored about 47 odd runs. He was actually inspired by the confidence that he generated in the second innings of the Lord's Test. He bowled really well. He showed a lot of rhythm, and maybe that kind of confidence was also reflected in his batting. And as a result of it, Brydon Cars, he fell just about 3 runs short of a much deserved 50. Towards the end, Jofra Archer, he remained unbeaten on 2, and for England it turned out to be 669, a mammoth lead of 311 that they have gotten in their first innings here. It looks like to be a very tough phase for India. And tough, by when we say this, it's basically to say the least, because there has been no grit that has been shown by Indian bowlers here. Even Jasprit Bumrah, he wasn't really at his full fitness. He was down with an ankle issue. So was the case with Mohammad Siraj. But one really has to argue in this perspective that whether both the bowlers have been overbowled in this series. Yes, they have been. They've actually bowled more than 110 odd overs each in this series. They've shouldered most of the responsibility. Other bowlers have revolved around them. If we talk about Shubman Gill's captaincy, well, this time around, maybe for the first time in the series, he was down tactically. Literally, he wasn't really on the mark. When you really had to pick Jasprit Bumrah to bowl those crucial overs, that's when he did not really bowl him. And when Washington Sundar was required to make sure that he generates that kind of drift with the old ball, whether it's to the right-handers or to the left-handers, well, he was brought into the attack very, very late. He was brought into the attack around 65th or the 70th over. He did pick up a couple of wickets, but then when you needed him more, he was not being given the ball once again. So for India, I think this time around they've obviously been undone by some poor tactics shown by their captain Shubman Gill. Obviously, it's early days for him as far as the captaincy is concerned. But if we talk about I think India's plan overall, I think it did not really inspire any confidence. The bowlers were pretty down. So was the case with fielders. There was no senior player or maybe any of the other players who were a part of the 11 who came to the bowlers, maybe just told them, gave a pat on their back that just keep going, the wickets will come. But that wasn't really the case. There was also an argument that was given in India's favor that when India batted, the conditions did suit the bowlers, and when England came out to bat, it was sunny conditions. England got the best conditions to bat, and maybe that's a valid argument. But then the kind of bowling attack that India has, you have Mohammad Siraj, you have Jasprit Bumrah, there is Ravindra Jadeja, who has been playing Test cricket for more than a decade now. So there was clearly no shortage of experience, but the kind of display that the Indian bowling showed, it was toothless, to say the least. Something that we mentioned in our previous discussions also yesterday when I was accompanied by Nikhil, Siddharth and Harshit. Overall, it did not really turn out to be an inspired performance. And even today also, when there was still some kind of a cloud cover, India did not really show any confidence. So was the case with Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Siraj also, Shardul Thakur once again being underutilized, and that's where maybe Mone Mokal, the bowling coach, he said that when you play too many bowlers, it becomes difficult to rotate, all those fast bowlers. You're currently playing with a total of 4. There is Bumrah, Siraj, Anshul Kamboj has made his debut, and then there is Shardul Thakur. So that's where maybe an argument comes that if you really have to play Shardul Thakur, you need to give him more overs so that he can find his bowling rhythm there. That's what he even said in one of the post-day conferences, that he lacked rhythm because he wasn't really given those consistent spells. So, and if that's the case, that he isn't really going to be persisted with those consistent bowling spells, then why play him? Why really go with him? Better to go with someone like a Kuldeep Yadav. He is a natural wicket taker. He's going to be a premier spinner, and he can absolutely replace Jadeja, the bowler, in the 11. Jadeja, the batter, has been absolutely magnificent, but Jadeja, the bowler, has been underwhelming, to say the least. So for Kuldeep Yadav to have played this test, obviously in hindsight you can say that he could have been an important option for India, but that did not really turn out to be the case. It's the 4th test match in a row, and Kuldeep Yadav is nowhere to be found in the 11. So India's innings has begun. It's Chris Stokes who is going to open the attack for England. Around the wicket to Jaiswal. Clearly looks like a plan, whether it's going to be attacking to him with an in-swinging delivery, or maybe angling in, which can turn out to be maybe a weakness for Jaiswal. As it has been mentioned, maybe in one of the tickers that are going on in this live, that India need proper test match batting. And that is the need of the hour that India want, because if it's about, making a result out of it, then India would have to score round about 480 to 500 odd runs, so that they can set England a target of about a minimum of 170 to 180, and that way their bowlers can also challenge the England batters. But with the way things are currently going, it doesn't really look like that it's going to be any challenge, that it's going to be, a tall order that basically is in for the Indian batters. So let's just take maybe one comment here and wrap things up. GGK is saying that Jaiswal and Gill masterclass loading, both getting big hundreds. This will end in a draw. It's a bold prediction. Chili Paneer is also saying that 6-6 is loading. So yeah, that's about it. So let's just see what happens now. And it's going to be, I think in about maybe max 12 to 13 minutes from now, we'll have a proper lunch discussion. I'm going to be joined by my colleague here, Nikhil Naz, and we'll see how the first session really panned out and what's going to be India's plan going ahead on day 4 and possibly on day 5. So stay tuned, and we'll be back in about 12 to 13 odd minutes to discuss more about England's batting innings and what could really be India's strategy.